everybody, and welcome back to our deck and walk videos. Today, we are going to be looking at the Scorpio Three Decan, and all of this is about to change and become very different energy. But like I always say, I like to kind of recap how this energy came through. For me, anyways, I've noticed this Decan was a lot of just kind of reminiscing, kind of going back, cleaning out closets and finding pictures from the past, kind of correcting things from the past, like old things. For example, like breathing life back into old furniture and just kind of remembering like when you first got it. At least that's what it was for me. For example, I redid my fireplace, and that fireplace I ended up pulling out of a yard sale when I was about 19 or 20, and it's been with me for like 20 years, right? I've literally over 20 years. I've dragged it literally every apartment, every house that I've ever lived in since that age. It has been with me. And as I was working on it and doing things to it, it was kind of funny to like talk about like back in the day when we painted it, or back in the day when my husband redid the top of it and put on a better mantle. And then just talking about different things, going back to different products that I used to use, like different paint, different vinyl flooring, different things like that, and just talking about that and how it's changed over the time. So just things like that, right? That's kind of what this whole period was. And it was interesting because it was good. Like things went well. I didn't have any problems or any complications. So there's your sun element, right? But then death was about metamorphosis and change. So it was interesting how it was like revamping and changing my fireplace and like different things like that, right? Once again, I've been really deep into just kind of getting my cave ready for me to live in for the next 6 months because winter's right on top of us. So it's been like fixing old blankets or getting rid of them, revamping spaces, organizing, cleaning things out, fixing things that were overdue being fixed. um you know the bottom of my staircase, like the people who lived here before us just put plywood, and it's absolutely hideous and I hate it. It's like I can't stand looking at it, so I'm trying to find different ways to hide that. And I'm looking at wallpaper, but wallpapers doesn't exist anymore. It's like these great big huge stickers that you can buy, that doesn't hide anything or do anything. Like wallpaper used to be an excellent tool to use to hide like damaged things or like different stuff, right? So kind of like once again, it's like metamorphosis, like changing things and working on things, but then it's like things from the past and different aspects of your past coming up. Like as simple as talking about different materials that I used to use that aren't available anymore, or the way that paint used to be, right? So that's kind of how it came through for me, which was really interesting, and not really expected. But I now kind of understand the combination of these cards very clearly, especially when it's put into like a home improvement sense, right? Because like I'm really big into interior design, almost took it in college, decided not to, which was a really big mistake on my behalf. However, it's the way life went. And so that's a language that I really understand, right? So that made sense to me. We've got some things changing today. These all stay up here. We know that, right? But we've got the different elements changing in here. I've already changed these cards, but let's change out these are W's. And we have the Knight of Cups leaving us over here. And we're going to be bringing in the King of Wands. So let's switch out our cards. Death is staying with us, but we're switching out these two cards. So we're saying goodbye to the Sun and the Six of Cups. Pardon my reach. And we are bringing in the Seven of Cups. Let me fix. I always smash everything all over the place. All right. Six of Cups. And we're going to be dealing with, or sorry, Seven of Cups. And we're going to be dealing with the Empress, which is really interesting energy. This is like I already kind of know how this is coming through, so we'll see we'll see how this all goes. All right, and like I said, we're switching out. The Knight of Cups is leaving us, right? And we're bringing in the King of Wands. So we'll be looking into that as well today too. All right, so there's our new lineup. Let's flip these. So we've got the Empress, daughter of the mighty ones. We've got the Seven of Cups, which is Lord of illusionary success. And we've got Death, which is child of the great transformers. And our planetary energy is Venus. There we go. So here's our new energy for the next 10 or so days. And then, as usual, we're reading out of the 36 Secrets by T. Susan Chang, which is an amazing book. And I'll always say that because it's phenomenal. I've really enjoyed this. Okay, so let's get in here. Let's look at the different things. I can already feel like how this is kind of going, right? And remember, we are now in the pre-shadow of Mercury in retrograde. And so the pre-shadow exists 2 weeks before, then we go into the retrograde, and then we run into its issues, the post-shadow, which runs about 2 weeks after. So we're looking at about 7 weeks of shitty Mercury in retrograde energy, which puts us going right into the Christmas season. And that energy should be all clear and gone by Christmas Eve. Thank God, right? But be aware of that. We're going to be dealing with it from now until right up to Christmas. So Christmas shopping, vacations, anything that you're doing and anywhere you're going and what you're trying to get ready for Christmas Eve is going to be a challenge for some of us, probably most of us. But some people aren't affected by Mercury in retrograde, which is really quite strange because it really honestly rocks my household. So expect issues, expect complications, expect communication issues, all of that lovely stuff, right? So just remember that, be kind, be forgiving, and understand that a lot of the underlying confusion and elements are coming from Mercury, right? So just something to keep in mind. All right, let's get into the book and let's see what Susan says about all of this. So her chapter is called Mortal Beauty, and it is the Seven of Cups. And like I said, we are in the Decan Scorpio 3. So she's calling the Seven of Cups Lord of Debauch. And then we have the Empress and Death. All right, so I'm going to get in here and I'm going to read. Okay, so the mysterious Seven of Cups, sometimes dreamy, sometimes squalid, always enigmatic. What happens when you introduce the Venus to the Death card? What transpires in the encounter between Eros and Thanos, dove and serpent, what Freud called the sex drive and the death drive. The ending hinted at the Six of Cups is now here. That which we consider beautiful is beautiful not despite its mortality, but because of it. The perfection of a rose, or a ripe avocado for that matter, dissipates swiftly. How does one pursue beauty in its dying hour? Do you seek to transform it into something new? Do you try to preserve it as it was? How you react in the face of the terrible moral beauty is the subject of this card. The Hermetic title of the Seven of Cups is Lord of Debauch, or Illusionary Success. I've got it as Illusionary Success on the Hermetic Tarot. In contemporary English, we more often say debauchery, which suggests pleasure pursued to the point of compulsion. This decan belongs to Venus, but it's in the Mars-ruled sign of Scorpio. In the sign of Mars, Venus is detriment and vice versa. Her powers to charm may fail or project an air of desperation or take on self-destructive cast. If you've ever seen how The Office Christmas Party ends, drunken stumbling, smeared mascara, regrettable hookups. You've seen the side of the Seven of Cups. Debauch, then, is a misguided effort to cling to glamour whose moments have passed. In that fantasy world, a seeker can fall into addiction's endless seeking, the trap of fetishing the sensation of the high rather than the rise and fall through time. From this, you can derive the negative interpretation set of this card: escapism, obsession, hangovers. If any card has something to say about illusions, it's the Seven of Cups. The backlit, bedazzled figure in the foreground stares at an array of choices. What might they symbolize? Beauty, sex, faith, power, wealth, fame, danger. Part of the genius of this card is that these strange chalices of vision, which is Waite's terminology, might mean something different to each person viewing it. And what of the shrouded mystery at the center? Right here. I always thought of it as like a ghost, but that's just because, it looks like a ghost. Is it the one true savior? Is it a soulmate? Is it the one sole truth ever hidden from view? While we associate the sign of Scorpio with the scorpion, it takes lower and higher forms as well. Snake evolves into scorpion, evolves into eagle. It is the same nature of Scorpio to transform, shedding its base instincts as a snake sheds its skin, attaining at length the eagle's keen, penetrating powers of perception. But where there is transformation, there is also no single reality, and that's where illusions come from. In the Book of Thoth, Aleister Crowley describes the Seven of Cups as the palace of Klingsor. Klingsor? I think it's Klingsor. This is reference to the myth in which a wicked sorcerer, Klingsor, attempts to waylay grail-bound knights with a palace and temptress-filled magical garden. But when the righteous Parsfel sees through Kingslor's magic, the garden withers and the palace crumbles. In the Thoth deck, Seven of Cups, we see the curled reality beneath the glamour conjured by the Smith-Waite's imagery. I'm then going to skip ahead. I draw the Seven of Cups at a greater than average rate, which is one reason I've fallen for its dark allure. It is a frequent companion when dreams are subject, whether I am the dreamer or the dream. I drew it when hosting a class on the inner eye and when being interviewed about my dreams on a podcast, and on a day when I was transcribing my dreams from voice recordings. The Seven of Cups can refer to the outer eye as well as the inner, arriving on days when I've gone to museums or other art showcases. It was there the day I memorized the Hymn to Death, a song of Thanos. It's been presented when my silk remnants arrived from India, spilling their bejeweled luxury all over my office floor. And the day I went to a particular good secondhand store and purchased an armful of vintage threads. Recycled beauty brought back to life. When you draw the Seven of Cups, take a deep breath and prepare yourself for powerful warnings and promises. You may find yourself in an emotionally ungrounded state, in which good judgment seems to have absented itself and imagination has taken the reins. Enjoy the fairy gold, but don't mistake it for the real thing. Procrastination, escaping into fantasy worlds, seeking out altered states of consciousness. These are some of the temptations of the Seven of Cups, and there is probably no harm in indulging them a little. However, bear in mind the potential cost, the hangover, the walk of shame, the amends for something you did when you were out of your head. If, despite your best efforts, you wake up floundering in the debris of choices that glittered like gold the night before, remember the ultimate power of the Seven of Cups is to transform what is broken, spent, and corrupted into something new and beautiful. Have a strong coffee, pick up the paintbrush, the pen, the guitar. The way to reap the Seven of Cups treasures is to pay your tribute in the form of art. paint, write songs, make music, poetry, dance. Pay attention to your dreams and fashion them into art, for reality is only what we make of it. And then, of course, as usual, she closes out with a little poem. So, yeah, there's the Seven of Cups for you, which is a very interesting way to see it. I kind of already looked at it that way. I always see this card as like obviously a lot of choices, some of them being right, some of them being wrong, some of them you should take, some of them you should walk away from. So I feel that there's always just a lot of choices that come forward with it, right? But I like how she kind of shined the light on the aspect of like it making things seem better than what they are, right? And kind of throwing in that issue, right? So I don't know. I really like the way that that came across. And once again, it completely falls into this energy that I'm in where I'm like revamping these old things that have been in my life a long time that need a little TLC, right? So I kind of feel like it's once again right in line with what's been going on. And I'm not done my fireplace project yet. I have to buy another box of tile and I have more work to do on it. So I'm going to be still doing work on it, right? And I still have the problem downstairs with the back of the staircase, like I said, that I still have to figure out my way with that. So I still have that going on. And I'm just trying to like breathe life back into these old things and to make my spaces or the furniture that I have look good and aesthetically pleasing to me, right? Because I don't want to go out and buy a whole bunch of new stuff. One, I can't afford it. And two, I don't want to. There's the way that these things are made come from an era where attention to detail was a thing. Having good materials was a thing. Nowadays, things aren't made the same. So if I can fix something and make it look good and still enjoy it and use it, well, I'm totally going to, right? Because I don't want to go out and buy new stuff. All right, so let's take a look at the different things that are happening here. Let's read about Venus. Let's read about these new cards, and let's read about the the King of Wands, and see what's coming through with all that stuff. So I'm going to start with the planetary energy that's coming in. So let's find Venus. So Venus is the planet of love and beauty. Harmony and balance are its attributes. Pleasure, bounty, sensuality, and the arts are within its realm. It seeks connection with others and supportive relationships. So very much like I feel like those are such similar energies, right? With the Empress and Venus. So once again, I think that's just like wanting the beauty, wanting the love, wanting to nurture and take care of things or revamp things. That's very much the energy that's coming through for me with, like I said, like the furniture and my home and all the different things that I'm doing, right? All right, now let's get into the Hermetic Tarot. So let's start with the Empress. We have had her in the past, but we haven't heard about her in a while. So let's refresh our memory. So, daughter of the mighty ones. The sign of Venus appears above the Empress, and the sign of Libra, ruled by Venus, at the top of the card. The Empress is the Greek figure Aphrodite. The spiraling flame at her side represents her birth from water. The 12 stars overhead represent the zodiac that surrounds her. She holds a diamond scepter. The Empress has wings and is clothed in the sun. The Empress is the center of the Emperor. She has the black eagle at her feet, which is the counterpart of the alchemical eagle in the next card, which is the Emperor, right? Above the eagle at the Empress knee is an inverted crescent moon. All right, let's take a look at that. We've already seen her before, but we'll see her again. Because like I said, we haven't seen her in a while. So there she is. Very beautiful. All right. Now, let's go on to Seven of Cups. All right, Seven of Cups, Lord of Illusionary Success. A hand emerges from the clouds holding the lotus stem, which rise from the central lower cup. With the exception of a central lower cup, each cup is overhung by a drooping lotus flower, but no water flows from them and the cups appear empty. All right. So there we can see. All right. So there we have the hand holding the stems in the center cup, right? And then they all have a flower hanging over the cups, kind of wilted looking, right? But no flowing water. Interesting. Very beautiful. And then we have the death card. I won't revisit the death card and read it. You can go back to the previous video, Scorpion 1, where we read about it if you want to refresh your memory on what's going on with that. But we kind of know where that's going. All right, so let's look at the King of Wands, which is the new personality or archetype that's coming in with this Decan. All right, let's read about the King of Wands. The King of Wands, Prince of the Chariot of Fire, the airy part of fire. A kingly figure with a golden braid crown and large white wings sit in a chariot drawn by a lion. The king wears a corselet and bears the phoenix wand of great power and energy. Beneath the chariot are flames, and from above appears his crest of a winged lion head. In front of the lion are the symbols for Cancer and Leo. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, there we go. The King of Wands. Wow, really interesting. Look at how the lion's drawn. Really neat. That's so cool. I've never even really looked at this card up close, but it's really interesting, eh? All right, there we go. So once again, these cards over here are just extra energies to tap into. Different personalities you might encounter, different feelings that might come forward, different things like that, right? So I feel it's like personalities of people or yourself. It's kind of the way that you feel for this Decan, or the people around you are acting. So it's just other extra energies to tap into to kind of help us to understand this Decan in the way that it is, right? So there's our next 10 days or so. This is what Scorpio 3 is going to be for us. It'd be very interesting. I'm really quite I really honestly think it's just going to be for me continuing my improving of my space and working on things and trying to use the elements that I have. And that's the other thing that's really interesting is I have a room downstairs that I have piled full of things that I can't find a spot for or a purpose for. And they're things that are in good enough shape that I don't want to just throw them out, right? So I've been trying really hard when I'm doing these projects to take from my own things before going out and buying new, right? Obviously, that's what most people try to do. But a lot of these things have been problematic and they just don't fit anywhere, right? So that's what I've been doing. So as I've been revamping these spaces and going through them and putting things like obviously when I redid my fireplace, I put different decorations up, I put things around it, cleaned up the space in the living room around it, and just made it look nice, right? Because like I said in previous videos, when we moved in here, it was such a mess that we kind of just dropped things and then got to doing the real serious work that this building needed, right? So after 5 years, I am finally at that point where the major repairs have been done. And I'm at that point now where I kind of want to start beautifying my space and making it more feel like our home and us. So now I'm kind of going through all these spaces and just perfecting them and making them beautiful, right? So I'm taking things that are not having a purpose right now and giving them a purpose. So I feel that's very much that energy once again coming through for me, right? So this is very on track and on board, and I understand 100% where this energy is coming from for me. Okay, so let's look at our next video. Okay, so The Seven of Cups, will be from November 13th to November 21st, making our next video November 22nd to December 1st, and that'll be the Eight of Wands. All right, so I'll see you guys on the next video for November 22nd. And yeah, all right. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope that you're enjoying this as much as I am. And just seeing how these cards fit into things, right? So really, really, really cool. All right. Enjoy the beautiful weather while we still have it if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. I've got a few videos that I'm trying to edit and get up. I haven't had the time to. So you'll be seeing some new videos coming up eventually. And I'll see you guys on the next one. All right. Thanks.